is Dr. Aggrey Mlimuka. I'm the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Tanzania Employers. I'm also a lawyer, an advocate since December 1989. When we talk of the labor force, we are talking of the people who are engaged in the economic activities, those who are engaged in employment. And these may be informal employment, maybe informal employment, those who are involved in the production processes in the world of work, be it in the private sector, public sector, informal or formal economy. And normally, the National Bureau of Statistics, in collaboration with the Prime Minister's Office, which is responsible for labor and employment, is supposed to conduct what we call integrated labor force survey to look at those who are engaged in the labor market. Main challenge is that the labor laws, which were enacted in 2004, and they started to operate in January, to be exact, 5th of January 2007, are skewed in favor of the employees. There is an imbalance between the interest of employers and the interest of employees. The labor laws favor employees at the expense of employers. That is the major problem. And that's why most of the provisions you see favor employees at the expense of employees. So you need to have a balance between the interests of employers and the interests of employees. Any good labor law should strike a balance between the rights of the employers, the rights and obligation of the employers, and vice versa, the rights and obligation of the employees. If you favor one group at the expense of the other, then you end up having a problem. And that's why we find lawyers have been complaining here, the amount of or the rate of compensation ordered by the CMA or the labor court is high. They say, well, the provisions favor employees, employers have to discharge burden of proof, and all the other things. So other challenges really all come from this major challenge of the imbalance between the interests of employers and the interests of the employees and the obligation thereof. We have generally, I would say, Tanzania, we have a peaceful industrial relations atmosphere. We have problems, and I have never come across, and by the way, I also worked for the International Labour Organization for nearly 5 years. So I know of the local as well as the international scene. I've been involved areas in terms of East Africa, SADC, and I would say you cannot have a free industrial relations system free from any conflict. Conflicts are part of any labor relations system. What we should strive at is to minimize conflict. And you can only minimize these conflicts if you have that balance. Each side, that is the employers, should know what are their rights, what are their obligations. Likewise, employees should know what are their rights and their obligations. Now, if we respect the rights of each other and the obligation, recognize our obligation, we are very much going to minimize. And other countries we have seen is very volatile. I don't want to mention countries here, where you find there are strikes, there are industrial action from time to time, but Tanzania has been generally peaceful. Peaceful in the sense that we have problems, but we've been able to resolve these problems through dialogue. Dialogue is the most important thing between employers and workers, whether employers through their own association, like my association, or the trade union through the umbrella, the Trade Union Congress of Tanzania, or the affiliates, which are many now affiliated to Trade Union Congress of Tanzania. Dialogue, be it at the enterprise level, be it at the national level, dialogue is very important. And the labor relations we call the social dialogue. Dialogue between the government, employers and workers, this should be encouraged. everything can be put on the table, everything can be discussed. There are no taboos in the labor relations. It's very important that any employment, and I would say that diversification is very, very important. Diversity is very, very important. Even at the level of decision making. My association is involved in promoting diversification. We have been promoting, we have a program which we call the Female Future Program. This we've been doing with our sister organization from the, Norway, the Norwegian Employers Confederation, where we have been taking women to 9-month program, 14 weeks in class, and then they go and work. The aim being to promote women into leadership position. At the same time, to enable these women climb the ladder to go to the boardroom, decision making. Recently, I heard of a country where they are saying they are going to ensure that their boards should given a minimum percentage of women in the boardroom. Why? That is part of diversification. You diversify in terms of gender, but diversification also in terms of professions. You can not only hire lawyers, you can not only hire economists, only engineers, only communication experts. We have to diversify the workforce, and all of us and each one of these professions, through the interface, through the alignment, we can be able really to achieve higher productivity. Everyone has got his or her own input, and we have to take that. It's very, very important. That's why even this conference, talking about diversification, we have heard for people from the real estate, people are practicing now, criminologists now are talking about how we have to build a safe, so you heard it from the lawyers, labor lawyers, you have the tax lawyers, etc. So diversification is very, very important. And we should not regard diversification as a weakness. It's a strength even in an organization. The more diversified we are, and we are able to align all these diversities to promote for the common good, so much the better.
Wakili TV, kitovu cha sheria.